Hello, everybody. This is Keisha Lacey, and thank you for joining me back at the Random Horror Show. Um, Second recording of my real time horror story, Longview Baptist Temple. The second part was definitely was not the business, and so I'm just re-recording. It just I don't know. It just didn't in a weird way, it just didn't vibe with me. So I know y'all have been listening to um, the first part one of the Longview Baptist Temple and what happened in my childhood. I'm just recapping it. This is a church. They renamed their church back in 2019 to Emmanuel. Um, and in my childhood back in the 80s, they, how would I put it, deliberately like kidnap, coerce a bunch of black children in black neighborhoods, not just only in my neighborhood but other towns too, to go and worship with them for their church services. Stories of them just not feeding the kids. And if they did, it just wasn't like the business. Particularly, they did this to fill up the pews to make it look like they had a lot of members. Now, one question I've always wanted to know is why they targeted black children, and it's because they knew they can get away with it. They knew that if they went into white communities and neighborhoods doing the same thing, they would have, the police would have been called. Yeah, they had a lot to answer for if they did that in white communities. So that's the reason why they stayed away from white communities, is because they wanted to avoid the law. But them being very methodical and manipulative, they set out to do this in black communities. And I come to find out they did this like in a couple of like other communities, or like like say like trailer parks and stuff like that. Is because they targeted quote unquote lower income communities. And to me, it's like they didn't respect people. They didn't respect the black community. They didn't respect the children. Um, Most of all, they didn't even respect the parents either. They knew they were doing wrong. And like I said, this is a cult. People will argue you down, especially around here in this area, that they're a real church. Um, I'm sorry to tell you this. This is not a real church. This is a cult. Now, in part three, what I have is already recorded. Um, there is a lot of articles and accusations. Um, there are people's testimonies against this church, especially dealing with sexual abuse. There has been money extortion, things like that. There's also where they have literally was in support of a man who is a member of a church that was in Indiana, I believe, that was being very sexually inappropriate, basically just statutory rape. I'm just going to say it like that, with a young lady that was around the age of 15 to 16 years old. Um, but yeah, it's really deep, and I do have part three out. I'm gonna be releasing it with part two, just to wrap it up with everything. But part two is basically just the after of like my I had another encounter with LBT. This is where I was pregnant, I was married, and I actually lived in Longview. And at that time, my husband was working for a really big, humongous oil company. Um, may know them as Halliburton. At the time, George Bush Jr. was the president. Of course, his vice president is Dick Cheney. Dick Cheney was the president of Halliburton, and my ex-husband, well, my husband at the time was working for them, and I was pregnant with my second child, my son, and my kind of got a little tight right there. So I was like, now let's go look up some food pantries. Now I've used food pantries, pretty much part of my life. Especially if I was a single mother before I got married. I had my daughter from a previous relationship, and it was times where I had to rely on a food pantry until I get paid and everything, just to stretch out my food budget with me and my daughter. And so it was kind of like that little time right there. And I was like, oh, this is a little funky right here. Because, we were a growing family. We had a baby on the way. And so I was like, let's look up food pantries. So there was food pantries that was not open, or they were clear across on the south side of Longview. And so I like, oh, there's one right here. It's just 3 miles away from me, not that far from my house. And at this time, I moved off um, from Henderson when I was 12. I went to go live with my dad and my grandparents, and so that was like the whole nightmare, like ending for my brother and I. Down, literally forgot about Longview Baptist Temple of what the hell they were doing, and we just let that shit fade out. We probably blocked it and stuff, but we didn't have to worry about what we had to go through, as children, running away from like the church bus and these ding dongs coming into our neighborhoods. You want candy? Come to church service. Just hop on our bus. Just creepy. That was just so creepy. And years and years like passed by. I mean, I would say I'm gonna give it, when I moved with my dad and my grandparents, um, about 15, 16, 17 years, something like that. Yeah, 17 years. Totally forgot about them. Totally forgot about them. And this is my like second run in with them. So as I forgot and blocked and everything else from what they did when I was growing up, I drove and got in the parking lot. I was like around 7 months pregnant around that time. I'm short. I'm a short lady, and I didn't have a basketball. I literally had felt like I had one of those damn big ass like ball, like a dodgeball and stuff. I had like a dodgeball in front of me, and I'm just moseying on down, and it was just weird things started. I started feeling a little weird about it, and I was just like, why am I feeling so weird? Because I forgot about them. And then when I walked in and it just dawned on me, I was like, you got to be kidding me. I have literally walked in. I just walked into like a hornet's nest. I walked into Satan's lair. You know what I'm saying? I was just like, oh, Jesus Christ. I was like, oh, holy balls, holy Satan. You know, I was all like that. And so there was a lady that greeted me, and it's like shit. Just get the fucking food and just leave. That was on my mind. Just get the fucking food and leave. That's it. Get the fucking food and leave. So usually when you do food pantries, some churches are a little different. Some of them like ask, if whatever income that you're on. Some just take down your driver's license, and usually typically they ask you if you live in the city limits or the county that the church resides in, because you have to be in that county to receive food from a food pantry, or that city or something, or that town. And I let them know, like, yeah, I live in Longview. Yeah, blah 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 blah. Yes, this is. I had a little piece of paper, and I was like, yes, this is my address. This is where I live, etc. etc. So I'm thinking it's the same thing, what I'm used to, and they really threw me out of the loop. And they were like, well, in order for you to get the food, you're going to have to get baptized. And I was just like, what, bitch? I have to do what? Oh yeah, I put up some resistance. I did. And I was like, I'm already baptized. I've been baptized since I was 13 years old. What's the whole point of being baptized for food? I mean, usually you give them a basket and you tell them, like, go right ahead and pick whatever you need, and whatever items and junk like that, because they have a limit of items that you get and things like that, and you just go on with your merry way. Not this time. They do things a little bit differently. They like, you need to be baptized, because to them, um, you're asking them for something. They're like, well, you asking us for food. Well, you need to give something back to us. Let us baptize you, because it doesn't matter you got baptized when you were 13 years old. That's when you were 13 years old. You're older. We need to make sure that you are reborn again. I'm just like, bitch, what the fuck ever. I mean, literally, I was I was sitting there thinking about my family. I was just like, okay, I have myself, I have my unborn child, I have my daughter, and I have my husband at the time. And I want to make sure I can stretch out our food until, it gets paid, because I think we had a couple of bills that was a little bit high that we had to pay. And of course, I was on, I put the household on a budget. And I was just like, you got to be fucking kidding me. And I was like, you know what, bitch? All right. You know what I'm saying? All right, bitch. So I'm just so consuming my teeth like this and shit. And I know, and I'm like, I'm pregnant. And they're like, we don't care. And I'm just like, you are fucking crackers. These people, like, cheese have slid off their cracker. That's how fucked up they are. They are literally that fucked up. So I was like, well, okay, it doesn't hurt. I'm just going to get wet. I can take a shower, clean whatever grossness from these bastards. Just get this goddamn food, and I'll be on my merry way. So they baptized me, and I mean, I had people holding me, dunk me and shit, and I was just like, whatever, bitch. This is not even the business, because, like, really, it didn't even mean nothing. Now, when I got baptized at 13, it meant something to me. When they did that shit, it was totally, it was, it was just fucked up. I didn't feel shit. I didn't, whatever. I was just like, God, I was like, this is bullshit. And I was thinking to myself, if I did slide or I drowned, um, that's a lawsuit. But that didn't happen. But I thought about it, and I was like, that is a lawsuit right there if something like that happened. It did. It went through my mind. And I wouldn't mind suing a fucking church. I would not mind. But it didn't happen. Thank goodness. I came out, you know, unscathed. So did my son. At the time he was unborn. And I got the food. I went home. I was just like, let's wash this bullshit off. These people are creepy. These people are maniacs. And when my husband came home, I told him, and he thought that was the greatest thing since sliced bread. And I was like, look, I was already baptized. And I explained to him, I was like, when you go to a food pantry, a church, it's whatever you call it, you know what I'm trying to say, charitable shit like that. I said, they don't make you do things like that. But still, it's still great, and the Lord, and blah, blah, blah. And this is like where I was just like, you know what? I really made a wrong choice in marrying this cat. I really did. And I was just like, you don't understand. I'm pregnant. I did not need to be baptized. All I just needed was food to make sure that we can stretch our food, until we get, till you get your paycheck, things like that. And I could go grocery shopping, blah, blah, blah. And he still is dumb as a bag of rocks. He's still a little bit illiterate as of today, but besides him, the point of him, he still just was not getting the point, because people, when you do that, you I have never, I mean people who have been to food banks and things like that, you don't do things like that. You just don't. And he just was missing the whole entire point. And I was just like, oh my God. So weeks and weeks later, we start getting 19 and 20-year-olds, Mormonish, I don't know, they were probably from that church or somewhere else. And they start knocking on our doors and asking us about, do you know the Lord Jesus Christ? And I was just like, oh my God. No, but thank you for your time. And I was telling them to get on with their merry way. And of course, my husband at the time was there. He seen him, and he invited him in the house. And I was just, oh my God, you're inviting strangers into our house. Oh my gosh, and they're gonna be sitting up here, be talking and debating and everything. And that's what he liked to do, was like debate about Christianity and Jesus and stuff like that. I'm like, I don't even have fucking time. I don't want these kids in my house. And I seen how these people will literally brainwash these younger adults, and they put them out there in the streets like they're hookers. Okay, they're literally pimping for Jesus, like hookers, and they're knocking on strangers' doors, and they have these scripts that they literally teach them what to say if anybody has a rebuttal or anything. And these are young adults. And I was just like, wow, y'all guys should be studying other things and enjoying friends and getting to know the world and things like that. But these dirty ass motherfuckers have children to go out and do these things. And who cannot turn down a child, even a 19 or a 20-year-old, because see the shit right there. I seen that shit. The reason why they send these kids is because nobody's not going to slam the door in their face. Nobody's not going to cuss them out. And it's playing psychologically on the person's brain, is to like, well, it's a kid and I don't want to be rude. And so let them inside, or let them talk or say what they need to say, so I won't feel guilty for turning away a young person that's talking about the Lord. See how that shit plays out right there? That is like the oldest ass scam. I'm telling you, these motherfuckers sit there and literally pimp these children out. Pimping for Jesus, as I call it. You don't have to pimp for Jesus, and you don't have to use children. Sounds so. That's just some. That is just some insidious shit right there. And they still do stuff like that today. Use younger adults. Don't be an adult. Don't put the adults out there. Use use the younger adults. That's so sad. That's really sad though. And so he has like this whole conversation. I'm sitting there trying to cook fucking dinner, and I'm sitting up there going, Satan, Lucifer. I'm serious. I'm like pregnant. I'm like, Lucifer, Satan. And I'm like, "Grr." And I'm doing all this. But you know what? He gets mad because I'm doing this. And I'm just like, I don't know why you get mad for. I didn't want them in the house. Um, can't you don't even see what I see, and you should have just let me, just tell them just to go on like in the first place. And they left, and he was like, you didn't have to do all that. That is so embarrassing. Blah blah blah. I'm like, I don't give a crap. That is embarrassing. You don't see what I see. Those are children. Those are young adults. And you're sitting there debating with 19 and 20-year-olds about the book, the good book, and all that shit. You, I'm like, I feel sorry for them just to be bored with your presence. I'm like, I bet they were like trying, like, God, this dude cannot stop talking. We need to go. And, he was just like basically trying to say, like, I was just trying to teach them something. I'm like, no, you just literally just bored them to fucking death. That's what you did. Yeah, he will, yeah, he literally bored them to death. But I was uh, I was just like, I hope they don't show up. And they start showing up. And then, I mean, I'm glad I was there. And I told them, like, y'all just don't need to come back. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of us did turn them down when they came into the apartment complex, doing all this stuff. I mean, because I mean, to me, it's literally dangerous to send like 19 and 20-year-olds, dressed up like fucking Mormons and shit, with the black slacks and the white shirts, and they're walking up and down the street, and they're going out like in the morning time. And I was just like, this is so ridiculous how they do those kids like that. It's ridiculous. I'm like, someone needs to free their asses. But that was my second run in with LBT, especially with the food part. And I just literally just like, I had nightmares again about them afterwards. I did feel, I mean, and after that, what they did, I felt very violated. I felt, I felt so violated. I mean, and I was so upset at myself, but I was like, I had to make a choice. I'm like, do we just eat? And I should have just like left, but when they said that, I should have just left. But I was just thinking about my family and everything, and it just made me feel some type of way about things like that. And I have been to other food pantries like afterwards, and I got a divorce. I had my son, I got a divorce and everything else. And I moved to Nacogdoches, Texas. I was going to Stephen F. Austin State University. Axiom Jacks, you know what I'm saying? That's my alma mater right there. And I went to a food bank. And when I first moved down there, um, I was like in between jobs, but I still had money coming in. I was like, need to go to a food bank, stretch it out, things like that. And there was no baptism, there was no dunking my ass in the water, none of that crap. It was just, hey, your driver's license, hey, do you have a utility bill in your address and in your name? That was it. That was it. I was just, and when I got my received my food and went back home, and that thought hit me about them, what happened when I lived in Longview, and I was just I just shook my head. Nobody should not have to feel like that, even if they're uh you know asking, because when you're a church, that's part of your service to help people that are in need, but you don't coerce and force them to do something that they don't want to do. And I see they never give people a choice. It's all about control. They think they're in the right, but they're actually in the wrong. Because I'm telling you right now, as me personally, and just letting you know about this other experience that I experienced back um, in 2007. That was literally that was just literally traumatic for me. It was very traumatic. And I know, and I passed some of that shit down to my son because of something traumatic like that. Because I'm the type of person that you just don't tell me, like, well, you need this. No, bitch, I don't need that. Now, if I'm like at a place in my life where I want to change something about myself and I'm seeking it and I'm asking for suggestions, that's different. But you don't need to tell me that I need to be rebaptized, because the baptism that I received, and the reason why my baptism meant so much to me at 13 years old is because it was done at my grandfather's church. My grandfather, he passed away in 2013. He was there. There was another member of the community. He passed away back in 20. Yeah, he passed away in 2020. In 2020, um, and he was part of my grandmother's church. I was raised both like in a household of Kojic and Baptist. There was two different sets of faith in my household when I moved with my father and my grandparents. And so you had the leaders of the community, which is my grandfather and the late James Jordan Sr., um, did this baptism, and then the pastor that they had, uh, Reverend Williams, was there too. So that meant a lot to me right there. And that right there is very dear and very special because my grandfather and like the men of the community was there. And so when these assholes like, just they literally, to me, they just desecrated the whole specialness of being baptized. They did. They literally did. And when I was 13 years old, I made that choice to be baptized. It wasn't forced or nothing like that. It was an idea, a suggestion. You know, my grandparents was talking about it, and I said, they was talking about it and stuff like that. And then when it came time, that was the thing. When that time came for me to like accept that choice, you know, when it was brought up, and I already made my decision. I made my decision at 13 years old to be baptized. That's the difference. That is the difference right there. I made a choice at 13, a decision, an informed decision. But them bastards, they it was like, you either do this or you don't get that. You see what I'm getting at? It was. It literally. It messed me up for a while. It did. It messed me up for a while. I was very pissed. Um, and I remember afterwards, I had to go back into the hospital because I was having complications with my pregnancy. A month after. No, actually, it was 5 weeks after I got baptized. I had complications with my pregnancy, and I had to stay in the hospital. I don't know if it's just because my son was really active in trying to get out, or it's just was the it was the stress, and it was not just only the stress of just being traumatized from them just doing that bullshit. It was also a lot of things. My marriage started to be pretty stressful. I was having arguments with my husband. It was a lot that was going on, and I don't like. I wished I never did that. I don't. I do regret, and I wished I never done it. And I wished, um, at that time I would have been a bit more mentally stronger to just like actually walk away and go somewhere else. But it was like at that moment I felt like it was a bit of a desperation right there. Oh, so glad I'm just so glad I just like admitted that. It was a bit of a desperation. And it was just, and I'm all about my family. I really am. And it was all about desperation. And it was all about making sure my family was good. And that was it. But those bastards right there, they fucking suck, bro. And you know what? And since this is the age of Aquarius, um, they're gonna fall down. They are literally, it's gonna be something that's gonna happen, and it's gonna literally blow the doors down. If it's not the things that I'm, in the conclusion of this, that's not gonna blow. It's building up. If it's not that, what I'm in the conclusion of this, I'm just wrapping it up of LBT. It's going to be something else. And it's going to be a nuclear bomb that just explodes everywhere. And I hope, I am literally, I am praying to sweet Satan, holy Satan, Lucifer. I'm praying to Lucifer that this church just gets shut down completely. I want everything to be shut down by them. And you're probably thinking like you got so much hate towards them. Well, I don't like them for what they did to a lot of people. And in part 3 you will hear a lot of things that what has been going on. And you just need to make up your mind. Now, I don't want you to go and write like hateful ass letters and things like that, or make disparaging comments, to them or whatever if you find them. And it's because, um I don't want all that shit. But I'm just telling you my story about them. And there's other people with stories with them. Some of them are good, some of them are just okay, some of them are just really, really awful. But this is just my story. This is what I experienced from them. And It's very unpleasant just talking about them, and they really are a cult. Um, I just wish that people will realize what, you know, when you have church, and we know how people are in the church. This Sometimes you have those really great churches that really love their members, and it's really great, and people can feel safe, and the kids can too. And then you have those churches where they just be messy Bessie with the regular church shit. Um, those are normal shits. Those are normal things for church. But when you have a cult disguised as a church, it gets really, really convoluted and murky. It really does. And you and see, they have like so many decades to convince people and to manipulate people and trick them. And that's what cults do. I mean, and to me, for them to be like that, I find it to be a slap in the face to, their God that they serve. And to me, they don't respect their God, you know, in the whole Christianity religion. Now, when I'm speaking on that right there, we have known many cults that have risen and fallen, and it always been so hard to convict them and charges and things like that. You had Waco that has happened. Some people say that wasn't a cult. Some people will say that's just a bunch of people that just don't want to be bothered and everything at the compound. You had those in California where they thought they were coming from outer space and shit like that. And then, they all pretty much committed suicide. Um, you also have the famous one of Jim Jones, where he was like, I've watched a documentary over him. Also listened to Bailey Saren whenever she did her murder and mystery and makeup. She's really wonderful, and telling all these stories and everything while she's doing her makeup. And the thing about Jim Jones is that Jim Jones has actually pulled a lot of black people back in the 70s. A lot of them came from East Texas that followed him to Guyana, to Georgetown when the shit hit the fan and everything. But a lot of those members came from East Texas, of where I'm from, especially in Longview. The saddest one is that my stepson, my son's older brother, his great aunt followed Jim Jones, and sad to say, she was one of the victims down there in the massacre, the whole suicide pact thing. She was one of them. We had a lot of people up here that did follow him, and sadly, it was my stepson's great aunt, and he never had a chance to meet his great aunt because she fell victim in the whole charm of Jim Jones, and she sold her shit and packed up and she left. And sadly, she died in 1978, and that was the year I was born. I'm telling you, these cult shit is so bizarre, and they hurt people too. They hurt children. They hurt people. Um, you know, we know Rose McGowan. Her family. She was born in Italy. Um, Rose McGowan's family left Italy and came to United States because they were in a commune like that. Come to find out, it was a cult. Um, the adults were marrying children and minors and having, sexual relations with them, and that's molestation right there. That's sexual abuse. And when her father and mother like really saw the big picture, they escaped from that cult and came to the United States. And wow, it's really, I mean, it's really really sad that people get so swept up in these cults where they give all of their money. You also have them where they give their wives away to the leader, their children. They're just so brainwashed and just believing a false prophet, you know, to do all of these really evil and heinous and terrible things. But that's enough of my time right there. And thank you for listening to the second part of this real time horror story of mine. Um, I actually glad that I really am like letting this all out. Um, I just it's just something that I just buried and blocked, but it just I can't stand stuff like that, and I can't stand when people use religion or faith, and and these people really want guidance and love and things like that, and these people turn around and manipulate them, use them and things like that. Oh gosh, it's so terrible. I wonder how come the government. I don't know. I guess I'm just speaking, of out of hope. You know, I wish like governments and things like that would just like literally like crack down on these cults and things, because there's too many people that get hurt. Too many people get hurt. But they disguise themselves as a damn church. But anyways, that's enough, and that is my time. And thank you listening to the Random Horror Show with My Real Horror Story Time, LBT, and y'all have a good night. Hello, and welcome back to the Random Horror Show with my real time horror story of Longview Baptist Temple. Now, this is part 3 and the conclusion of pretty much every child's nightmare back in the 80s. To recap, Longview Baptist Temple, former, they renamed it Emmanuel, has been terrorizing and kidnapping and stalking young black children in the 80s and the 90s, and from my account, pretty much in the early 2000s, of running their little church buses, picking up black children and taking them to church, usually through coercion, gentle grooming, and not asking permission for the parents. They target basically predominant black neighborhoods because they knew that the cops or the people usually being patronizing to black people, particularly thinking like, well, they're in poverty, they can't do anything to us because we're big, bad, powerful as church, and we just don't give a fuck. Now, the town of Henderson did stop their asses from running their buses through town and picking up the children.
There was a lot of parents that rallied. There was a lot of people that complained a lot to the Henderson Police Department. They complained to the mayor and things like that. So it did get to a higher power. We don't see those buses anymore. And only time when we see them is they probably come down the main highway of 79 going in 259 to go somewhere. But most of the times I have not seen them. Particularly in my hometown, and that is indeed a fucking blessing. And I'm glad that everybody spoke up, and really made things work for the communities there in Henderson. And it's really indeed a blessing, because really no child, any child, not even black children, should not have to go through a fucking nightmare of that right there. And like I said, we could kiki and haha, we're putting up Facebook posts and things like that about them, but really, in the back of our minds, it probably is a lot that have like really thought about it, sat down and really it hit them. They're like, damn, I was really scared as shit to get on that bus. It was really scary. I had to run and hide in my own house, or hide in the woods, or hide behind a tree or anything else for the boogeyman, which is Lumbee Baptist Temple, not to snatch me up like a kidnapper. I mean, hell, we had to deal with a lot of shit, as kids back then. People abducting us, people, trying to sell us drugs and things like that. You had the whole war on drugs type shit that was going on. I mean, hell, we had not only homework, we had to not worry about when we got off the bus as latchkey kids, is there's nobody not following us when we get to the house, or making sure that we get in the house safe and locking all our doors. We had a lot of fucking shit to like to do back then as kids. I mean, we had some good parts, some pretty good childhoods and everything, but it was just really so much shit that we had to put up as kids. Some had to put up with more, some put up with less, and things like that. And of course, we asked our friends, at school, the white kids, like, hey, do they come in y'all neighborhoods? They were like, what? They come in y'all neighborhoods and pick y'all up on buses? They like, no, they never come to us. Now, I did see a few people that were not people of color, that very few, that did mention that they did come into their neighborhoods, but guess what? They lived in trailer parks. I was just like, wow. Or, you know, uh, lower income, neighborhoods. I was like, oh, okay, I see what the fuck they're doing. That's fucking nuts. That's nuts. But the rabbit hole is so much deeper than this shit right here. And I'm going to be pulling up and reading some articles about Longview Baptist Temple. This shit is going to blow your damn mind. And I'm loving how people are coming out and speaking against church members. You have like priests that has been abusing young boys, altar boys, all of that shit. You have the Catholic Church that brushed that up under the rug, and all kinds of crazy ass stuff like that. But I'm so glad, like, a lot of these survivors that been through so much traumatic ass shit, of like trusting an adult, and especially being a member of the church, or the parishioner, or like, a higher up or whatever like that. And these kids are putting their trust in them, because we're like, hey, trust an adult, they're in the church, that means extra trusting. But guess what? These fucking predators are like really destroying children, destroying their trust, their innocence, and everything else. But I'm going to go ahead and read this. This is from the Longview News Journal, and you can look this up. It's called Letter, a Troubling Church Culture. This was published January 1st, 2019, and it was updated in June 16th, 2020, which is almost 2 years ago. Um, I'm just going to read this right here. I would like to alert you about a recent findings in an independent fundamental Baptist church culture. One of the leading pastors in the sector is being accused of many accounts of rapes and indecency. Many other churches in this sector, including local Longview Baptist Temple, are choosing to support this man, David Howells. David Howells is a brother-in-law now in prison, Jack Snape of Hamden, Indiana. Snape is serving time for having sexual relations with a teenager, excuse me. Longview Baptist Temple publicly supported Snap, blaming the teen for being promiscuous, and now Wells. Ooh. And it also says that the Fort Worth Star-Telegram recently did an investigation series on the issue with these churches, and you can find it on the bit link. I'm gonna link that to y'all. But this is Longview Baptist Temple, which is almost 2 years ago, in support of a child rapist and a pedophile. And do you see why? You see why our parents says not to get on that damn bus. Now, this is another source right here is Anon source testimonies from former Longview Baptist Temple members. This was February 15th, 2020, and it is under the file of cults. And it has a tag of Baptist, Bob Gray, the second cult, Emmanuel Gray, Longview Baptist Temple. Emmanuel Baptist Church of Longview. Like I said, they changed their name. Emmanuel Baptist Church is their name that they decided on. Formerly of Longview Baptist Temple, has accumulated an infamous reputation among locals and former members throughout the years. It is widely considered to be a cult. In effort to uncover why this is, I reached out to former temple members and asked about their experience. Now, this is from a person that is one of the former members, and I'm just gonna like not say their name and stuff just out of respect. We were taught our entire lives that you don't say no to adults. You say yes, sir, or ma'am, and you do as they say. So to find out this abuse was happening was sickening but not surprising. I have been told that the church knew about what was going on and didn't do anything until a mom of one of the victims read it in her daughter's diary. Now, like I said, I'm protecting the survivor that said this right here. And this family became involved with the Longview Baptist Temple in 1985 when Bob Gray Sr. was still the pastor. She grew up within the cult until she left at the age of 20. While she was taken into the organization, she was still young. She recalls that the temple placed a heavy emphasis on their member count. And this is what I was saying in part 2. Anytime people joined the church, they were like fresh meat. I felt like everyone was just a number to them. And remember I said that? It was just a number. They were all about numbers to make themselves look good, the survivor says. They liked having a big congregation numbers, but it was more about souls saved and baptism. The reason I put in quotes because a lot of the times the teenagers would write down random names to keep everyone off their backs. As teens, we would get dropped off in groups of 4 or more, and we would go told to soul winning. We were instructed to knock on doors. Most of the time, we were dropped off in shady neighborhoods, but they didn't care. Wow. That is... whew. Let's read on. They did place an emphasis on their membership and the number of souls that they saved. The survivor recalled people were only numbers, but they were obsessed with. Obsessed? That is so weird. They were all about tithing too. And if y'all don't know what tithing is, it's like every Sunday You usually put in a tithe of 10%. A lot of people, my grandma, she still does tithes. At the moment she doesn't because she, thank goodness, she's getting out of the facility. She's getting very well, but she always do a $30 tithe every Sunday. And that's what tithes are. Just pay your 10% to church, basically. So they were all obsessed about tithes. The private school was so much expensive that they want to give people so much more to the church. My parents were broke all the time, but they keep wanting more money. Most of the church members live paycheck to paycheck, but the pastor Bob Gray Sr. and his secretary got a brand new matching Cadillacs one year. So they actually have a private school there. And they teach the children that are members there, and they would actually just fucking just be like gangsters and everything to like siphon money from the church members' parents because they like felt like you are ours, this is our money, you know. That's horrible. That's horrible. And I'm gonna read some more. And this also, they pushed for a fund culminated in the temple's Give It All week as the survivor recounts. They wanted everyone's money to go towards random things, but they wouldn't let people leave on a Wednesday night church without having a certain amount of money guaranteed. They would expect families to give up their whole paychecks. So our parents were paying out their ass for a private Christian school that is not even a school. They had to give up weeks worth of paychecks or Bob Senior Gray would throw a fit. Does that sound like some megachurch bullshit, pastor bullshit right there? You know, you have your Joel Osteens, you have your TD Jakes, which by the way, I heard TD Jakes is actually getting a divorce. Um, Peter Popoff and everything. Oh my God, Peter Popoff with his fucking stupid water and fucking strings and shit like that. My grandma get those Peter Popoff letters, and she was sitting there giving Peter Popoff $20, and I unhooked that motherfucking letter. I seen that motherfucking $20. I ripped that fucking letter up, and I took that 20 and I put it back in her purse. And every Peter Popoff letter that comes in the mailbox and stuff, we throw it away. Them hoes are some fucking scammers and they're fucking thieves. So let me read on. The Temple's private K through 12 high school Longview Christian Academy teaches the ABECA curriculum, which has received criticism from the National Center for Science Education for teaching young Earth creationism. However, given the Temple's strong stance against sexual education, they recount that the school taught incomplete ABECA curriculum. They tore out or marked out through pages that talked about reproduction, no plant reproduction, animal, human, nothing. Anything they did not want us to know, they marked it out with a black magic marker or tore it out of the book. That is nuts. That's nuts. It's sad. Let me go ahead and read another quote. This is from another young lady. A couple of times per year, there would be a push for funds. Sometimes there was a clear reason, other times it was just to clear debt. It was coupled together in a 6-week campaign. This campaign was the competition between members to bring the most converts. The last Sunday of the campaign was the big day, and every member was expected to give their entire household income for the past 7 days. My mom worked for them on Giving It All week. Her paycheck was garnished. You are seriously kidding me. Wow. And this right article, I'm going to be linking these up right in here so y'all can read it for yourselves. That's nuts. That is super nuts. Not only that we have so much we have so much controversy with this church, excuse me, this cult. We have so much controversy with this cult that it's ridiculous. I mean, you have them supporting a child molester and rapist pedophile. Then you have two people on two different accounts saying how the church just literally take money from their members, and they want to like be like this big huge mega church type of uh shit and everything. And then you have these parents that are members of the church going broke every week, every month, to supply their demands and shit, for them to go out and, recruit people. Like I said, this quota right here, remember what I was telling you? They did that shit in the 80s and everything to like fill up the pews and stuff to save the souls. And then you have this brainwashing technique that they use on teenagers and younger kids to like coerce and manipulate other children to come to their church so they can. Ooh, Lord have mercy. Jesus, I'm telling you, like I said, if you pedophiles are found so much in the church. They really are. They definitely are. They're there because guess what? You start that shit young with kids and they're a target. They're little lambs for the slaughter. They really are. Now, I'm going to read a little bit from the new church website. It's Emmanuel Baptist Church of Longview. And I'm going to read from their website. And of course, you have now Dr. Bob Gray Sr. is the sixth senior pastor of Emmanuel Baptist Church. And then you have another Gray, Jordan Gray, which is the assistant pastor. He's the youth pastor. He oversees the live stream ministries and teaches the TIBS. And there's a bunch of other little ugly pastors and shit like that. Of course, his address is still the same, but I'm going to read about the history of Emmanuel Baptist Church, formerly known as Longview Baptist. Emmanuel Baptist Church, formerly of Longview Baptist Temple, has a rich heritage of people and pastors since her founding in 1960. Founding pastor Neil Buckley Sr. was led of God through the authority of his home church in the Dallas-Fort Worth area and plant church in Longview, Texas. This resulting in founding of Longview Baptist Temple. From her humble beginnings in an old farmhouse on Spring Road, LBT, you turn it around and be BLT, lettuce, bacon, and tomato. Then moved to Jenny Street, and then in 1971 moved her current location onto Loop 281. Why are they referring this church to a woman? Shit, I guess they were, but you know what? They was ahead of the pronoun game with this shit right here, for real. So they speak on like how their church is so immaculate and so magnificent. They have a grade school, and in 20 years the building remodeled to stay fresh and clean, and how we just have these missions and outreach programs where we rekindle the new church plant were established and the current core values of our church was adopted. Recognizing that God was at work, the church voted in September of 2019. Remember, we had all this shit of 2019, what I just read about them, to change the name of the church, and in October of 2019 adopted the name that reflects the journey of the church, Emmanuel Baptist Church, God with us. No, God is not with y'all. God is not with y'all. Y'all just a fucking lying ass motherfuckers. These hoes be lying and shit. Lying ass hoes. But I can link that to you too. So if you want to read the whole Emmanuel Baptist Church of Longview whole core mission, but you see, the key words that I said was they changed their name. The church voted September of 2019 to change the name. And when did these allegations and all of this mirage of bullshit start to come out of the just come through the surface? 2019. So basically they changed their name to deflect all the controversy and the scandals and all the yummy juicy shit that they've been doing, the fuckery they have been doing for decades. Boy howdy, these motherfuckers are a trip right here. I'm telling you, these hoes are a trip. These hoes are a trip. But there is so much. There's like so many. Oh, and then the Longview News Journal also covered. Somebody asked a question about them, about why they changed their name. They said that the 92% of the church members voted in 2019 to change the church name to Emmanuel, which means God with us. The solidarity in that vote was significant, Robinson said. He said the name change reflects a change in the church that probably grew from a sermon Gray delivered called A Kinder Kingdom, which emphasized a true caring for people. Man, my ass. Boy, I'm howdy. Boy, howdy. But they have not, but reading now, they have not did any outreach ministries because of like the COVID-19 and stuff. But I'm just going to read this right here. The church does have an outreach ministry, which groups of teens with adult oversight would go into the neighborhoods to talk to people. So you're sending kids. You're sending kids out there. We're gonna have some adult supervision over it. Well, how come the adults ain't going out there? And y'all know why. Y'all know why they send kids out there, because I'm telling you, there's some tactics and shit. That's some fucking tactics right there. Nobody won't slam a door in a child's face. Nobody won't cuss a kid out. See that sneaky ass shit them hoes be doing? But I'm going to be linking that up, and you are definitely welcome to read those articles that I'm going to be linking in the description box. But the overall about this funky ass cult like church that is still in function, is still operating to this day. I find it to be very sad and tragic that people are still blinded of the activities and the bullshit and the fuckery they have been doing just because of a name change. And we serving God and the solidarity of the people and everything does not erase the fact that you have been hurting young children and other people throughout these decades. Usually, whenever you have a starting beginning church, like it started in 1960, from the founder, I bet it started off really great. I bet it did. But then you have, when it starts to grow, you also have those members in there that are pedophiles, that are unregistered sex offenders, um, child rapists, and things like that. You also notice that there is a lot of misogyny, especially in these types of churches. I'm dead ass serious. I am so dead ass serious with that shit right there, because it does screams a lot of that. Um, and you know what I just read to you, that they knew all these sexual abuse that was happening to the youth members in there, and they swept it up under the rug, didn't do anything. Why? Is because they knew that if anybody found out that was happening, they knew that the cops would be called. They knew that. They knew there would be investigations. They knew that shit. That's the reason. They're not there to protect the young children. They're there to protect their image. They're there to protect their church image. That's the reason why all these stories are swept up under the rug. I mean, you see that they were bleeding church members dry from their pockets, where it became very difficult for them to like pay their bills and feed their families. You see what I'm saying? And you know what? And I really, really do hope, and it needs to be done for these churches to be extremely taxed, because ain't no way in hell, you have people that say they're all about the Lord, and I know people that are very good Christians, and those who are pastors and evangelists and things like that, and and they do make sure their members are taken care of. They make sure that if something happens to a kid, or something fucked up happens, and this adult member that's doing this, just abusing or whatever in their church, they're going to fucking kick them out, and they're going to call the cops on them. You have to protect people in the church. And obviously this church was not in the mission to protect their own. Like I said, they throw these children out for the wolves. They didn't care. It's all about image. And of course, to put it this way, I believe this is the Southern Baptist. Like, I don't know all about that shit. I don't know all about that Southern Baptist and all that. I don't know. To me, I heard about it. It just seems very, very strange. There has been a few friends of mine, few people that I went to school with, that had to leave churches like that, and it's because they spoke against how they have been abused by youth pastors, different people, different members of the congregation. They're coming out and they're like 40 something years old, and they're coming out with this shit. Wow. And I'm glad the ones that are coming out very early, to tell their stories about shit like this. I am so happy that they're doing it. And my heart like goes out to the survivors of that. That is horrible. Jeez, that is so fucking horrible. But I'm just gonna let you know about my area. It is very ultra conservative. We are the asshole of the Bible Belt. And you see what I just read, that they definitely, churches around here support a member that um has done, fucked up ass crimes like that towards a minor or a child, and just because they're a church member or they were a pastor. And you see they do a lot of victim blaming too, and you see how they used that term of saying that the teen that the Highland guy, the Heisen guy, wherever his name is, how the teen was very seductive towards him. And now I'm gonna break this shit down. Um, there are still people that believe that shit. There are people around here still believe that even if you are a teenage girl, 12, 13, 10, 16, doesn't even matter what age you are, and some man abuses you, sexually abuses you, or touches you inappropriately, or being indecent, these people around here still believe that you, as a young woman or a young girl, you may not even have, you may not even have started puberty, or you going through puberty, or you have hit puberty. That they still fucking believe that a woman is a temptress, she is nothing filled with sin, and that, like, it doesn't matter what age she is, that she is a seductress, and she seduced that man, that grown fucking man, to do all that shit to her. And for her to sit there and say that this man did all this, we gotta victim blame her and say that she is very shameful, she is very unclean. And it's not that man's fault. You're a temptress. That's the type of pathology around here in this bitch where I live. It is very toxic. It is dysfunctional as shit. It is sick. It is evil. And I tell you, these people around here, I'm not saying all of these people around here, there's some good, you know, good individual around here who don't believe shit like that. There's people around here that are nonconformists. There's a lot of nonconformists around here. It's like we're coming out of the shadows and everything. We actually do hide in plain sight around here, but you still have those type of teachings and that pathology, that disgusting, sick pathology that do still victim blame young teenage girls and minors, that it's their fault that this adult grown ass man, um, he's doing all this nasty shit to them, that it's their fault. You still have people like that. And when they do that stuff in the church setting or surrounding, because it's easier for the predator to get to the prey because it's in church and everything, and they start to notice that, they sweep it up on the rug or they turn a blind eye. It's sad. It's sad as fuck. And it's like you have no type of help whatsoever. You can't even run to anybody in the church because guess what? They are supporting that sick bastard. It's fucked up, bro. It's fucked up. Truly. Very, very fucked up. And I find it to be for churches like that, I I find it very, very twisted. And I see why there is this great, upheaval of a lot of people denouncing their faiths and their religions or what they grew up in or whatever, because they're tired of that type of dysfunctionality and things like that happening in their churches. They're tired of it. They want to, I mean, there's nothing wrong for people to worship God and things like that, and there's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with holding on to your faith and everything. It's awesome. It is. It's an awesome feeling. But a church is supposed to, it's a building, right? But what makes up the church is the people. But when you have the people that do the most fucked up things, just like a fucking criminal, and they call themselves higher and mighty thou art, and think they're above criminal behavior, but they wear these masks, showing everybody this different side of them. Now that's problematic. I wouldn't even be surprised if they do like human sex trafficking of children. I would not be surprised. And I bet you this, it's going to be a church around here or somewhere else in the United States or somewhere else in the world that is got their whole fucking hand in pedo rings and human sex trafficking type bullshit. I know There's going to be a couple of them that are doing shit like that. And they hide up under the disguise of a church. I bet you. I may sound crazy. Might sound crazy to you. I might sound crazy to everybody saying this, but watch. Watch. Shit. Watch. And I'm just saying like this. My thoughts from years ago about their asses, and I still feel the same way of knowing they are fucking up. And you see what the articles, which is articles that has been printed and everything else of them fucking up through these decades. Bet, bet, yo, bet. I'm serious. Bet, 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 bet. But I like to thank you for listening to my real horror story of the Longview Baptist Temple, which is today is Emmanuel Baptist. Gosh, these hoes are a joke. I hope they shut the whole bitch down. They can't shut the bitch down for shit like that, for all these accounts that we have been seeing and reading, and people coming out and telling everybody, the whole fucking world and in the area, what the fuck they be doing. I hope they get this shit with some tax evasion shit. I pray to Satan. I pray to Lucifer. I pray to God, Satan, Lucifer, Buddha, Allah, all of them. I hope they get caught with some shit and they shut their bitch down, because that's not a church, that's a cult. You can change your name, you can put all these goddamn new buildings, and you can change your motto and all that shit, but you're still a motherfucking cult. Okay? You still a fucking cult. I ain't gonna come over here and do no bullshit and everything. I'm just gonna let y'all fuck up. Y'all gonna fuck up anyways. You done already fucked up, and you think your new shit is gonna get you, contrition and shit like that. Hell fucking no. This shit coming to an end. They shit coming to an end. I bet you. I bet you. I bet. I'm trying to think of a number. $20,000. 20 bands. 20 bands. That this shit is gonna go down pretty soon. Not this year. It's gonna go down pretty soon. Somebody gonna blow the doors and the waters. And like old Constantine said to old Gabriel on, you know what I'm saying? On Constantine, looks like somebody don't have your back. God don't have their back. Not even the devil. Oh yeah, they gonna get fucking destroyed in a couple of years. Just watch. They're gonna get destroyed. And I'm gonna be on podcast a couple of years later and everything, giving y'all the news. They're gonna be fucking destroyed, because guess what? God does not have their back, and God does not like ugly either. So there it is. Mwah. But anyways, I like to thank all of y'all for listening to this 3-part series, and I do mean it from the bottom of my heart. I love y'all. Make sure you protect your children. Make sure, you know, shit. I have kids. It's very hard to really just, it's just hard. But you always gonna worry about them, no matter what. Even if they're in their 20s or they're teenagers, they're in their 30s or 50s or whatever, you still gonna worry about your kids. And you always want to make sure they're not in danger. Even in church, even in school, even in public, even at work, even yourself, you always gotta look over your shoulder. And that's not trying to raise no, no heightened paranoia, being neurotic with shit, but always watch our back. And always, if you see something fucked up and funny and everything, and if you happen, unfortunately, somebody come up, a child or anybody come up to you and tell you stuff, what's going on, please do go to authorities. please do make a report for them. Please do advocate for them. Because I know it's like the he said, she said, or he said, he said. Doesn't even matter. It's a fucked up world, and this world is bullshit. But um, a lot of times kids do need to be protected, and if one of them confides in you, make sure that you hit the proper channels to make sure they get the help, and also for them to be at peace and comfort, even being brave for them to come out and let the authorities know what has been going on, because sexual assault, rape, and everything else is just so damaging to a young child, to any child, especially when they trust an adult and they abuse their power and abuse their trust, violate their bodies, everything else that you can think of. But that is enough, and thank you for listening to the Random Horror Show. And I sure do appreciate your listening ears, and thank you for my OGs who've been ride and die with me. I sure do appreciate it. And of course, I'll be getting back to our regular scheduled programming. And it's tax season. My virtual office is open, but I'm just waiting everybody for getting their W-2s. But again, I'm Keisha Lacey, and this is the Random Horror Show.